Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, there's streaming services coming out of your ears and into them if you watch wearing headphones. Back in the day, watching TV wasn't just entertainment, it was a battle, a test of patience, endurance, and bladder control. Gen Y and Z don't know the struggle of adjusting rabbit ear antennae, planning their lives around one scheduled episode, or having to physically get up like some medieval peasant to change channels. Listen, if you've complained when the system buffers for 20 seconds, imagine the torture of waiting a whole bloody week to see what happened in the next episode. Buckle up, kids. Here's why watching TV in the old days was basically a torturous survival challenge. Number 1, the physical battle. Imagine a world without colour. Well, welcome to watching TV prior to the 1980s on the crap TV in the kitchen or bedroom, as mum and dad hadn't yet converted the entire household to those newfangled colour TVs. TVs used to have a tuning dial to change channel, like tuning into a station or an old-fashioned radio transmitter. Even if you felt you had the tuner dialed into the perfect position down to the last millimetre, accidentally nudge it 1 or 2 millimetres and the antenna is sticking out the top and the grainy picture would be replaced by white noise and a mesmerising pixelated snowstorm quicker than a millennial's attention span. Just as Magnum, no, not an ice cream, was about to catch the murderer. TVs had 2 sticky out antennae, either red rodic antennae or 2 independently moving square ones. If you broke one, it was fine. Dad would replace it with an old metal coat hanger. If you had a mobile area, it used to be like a game of Twister, which Gen Y and Z probably don't know either, where if you stood just right on 1 foot, 1 hand against the wall, and held the aerial in the other hand with 1 eye closed reciting the Lord's Prayer backwards, then you could just about get the perfect picture. The family wouldn't let you move for the rest of the programme in case you ruined the viewing pleasure of a perfectly placed aerial. Never mind the muscle cramp wobbles as you shook with discomfort and pain. When you did pass out on the floor, Dad wasn't so much concerned with your well-being as he was knowing whether he'd actually missed a goal in the Bolton Tranmere FA Cup 4th round replay. Number 2, hope, despair and regret. If you missed your favourite show, tough luck. No rewinds, no replays, just the agony of waiting a whole week for the next episode, or months for reruns, where you'd have to reverse engineer to find out what happened in the previously missed episode that enabled the hero to be currently in bed with a beautiful blonde in a 5-star hotel, when, hang on a minute, 2 episodes ago, he'd lost his job, fiancé, cat and dignity. Then the VCR came out in the late 70s. End of your problems? Well, more or less, defusing a bomb with a 2-minute countdown would be less stressful than trying to program a video cassette recorder. You'd have more luck finding a 60-year-old German tourist whose recounting of the happy ending to his trip to Thailand didn't involve him coming out of a massage parlour than correctly setting the bloody machine to record the right channel on the right day at the right time. 1 wrong button and you either recorded Manimal, not so bad, as you could watch Dr. Jonathan Chase turning himself into any animal to help the police solve crime, or you taped over your sister's wedding. Number 3, Bible homework. If you wanted to know what was on, you had to read a physical book called the TV Guide. I know, something printed where you could turn the actual pages. This was the Bible in its day. This bad boy contained the secrets and power to your viewing pleasure for the week to come, but it came at a price. That price being 2 hours of your time going through every channel, every hour of the day, and circling in red pen any programme you thought worth watching. Which was all well and good, till it mysteriously disappeared at the beginning of the week. Even when you did find it 3 days later, the one programme you'd been waiting on all week would be replaced by a breaking news story about a 65-year-old man who was suing the ocean for stealing his socks after jumping off a pier whilst trying to hold up a bank armed with a shoe and a squirrel. Number 4, endure it all. Stomach or bladder calling? You ignored your stomach's growls of hunger and cries of protest from your bladder and sprinted to the bathroom during a commercial break. Take too long? Well, that sandwich and surprising last-minute need for a quick poo just meant you missed the key scene to understanding the entire plot. And if you had family, then any leaving of the room led to the Russian roulette of whether you'd come back to still be watching Kit driving itself to Michael Knight's rescue, or whether you are now watching Jessica Fletcher smarming her way to another bit of sleuthing before banging out another bestseller on her typewriter. Cocky bitch. On the plus side, at least your little side adventure meant you had avoided the ads. Every time the action hotted up and it looked like David and Madeline would get it on in moonlighting, then you could guarantee you'd have to endure 5 minutes of companies trying to entice you to buy Californian raisins or a City Kitty cat training toilet system. No skipping the boring parts of the actual show either. If a show had a slow episode, you watched the slow episode. No fast forward, no next episode button. You had to watch entire credits too, beginning and end, which together lasted longer than the actual show. Great, now I know Stuntman 5 was Burt Williams and the key grip was Julie Smith. No, I don't know what they do either. Number 6, terrestrial limits. Before Gen Y and Z moan about not finding anything to watch, just spare a thought for life in the 70s and 80s. Yes, life did exist before Netflix, and it meant choosing between the huge selection of 3 TV channels until 1982, when you guessed it, yeah, we had the giddy multitude of a 4th choice. Then it was just a mere 15 years later until we had the mind-blowing plethora of 5 channels. Nowadays, there are 300 plus channels in Sky alone, not to mention the catalogue of films and series ready at your fingertips. Netflix alone has 3,600 movies, 1,800 series. Does that excuse it buffering for more than 2 seconds? Nope. If your movie doesn't instantly load on your streaming device, then you're hammering every button on the remote multiple times before yanking cables out the back of the TV like a bomb disposal expert and threatening the unborn children of the service provider. I remember when we talked about renting a film as a night in. You know why? Because first you had to walk to Blockbusters, then you'd show a film to the rest of the family only to be told that they didn't fancy that so much. Everyone would then read the backs of 20 boxes, shouting suggestions until you finally decided on one that everyone agreed upon. At which point the assistant would naturally tell you that that film wasn't back yet and the box shouldn't have been out. You'd go through this cycle 2 or 3 times before returning to the first film you'd suggested 45 minutes ago. You'd get home and find the absolute shitbagger of previous customer hadn't rewound the film. In the time for a VHS cassette to rewind, you could write a novel in Mandarin without having any previous knowledge of the language. You'd then find the copy was shit and then it had more black and white lines running through the image than a Newcastle supporting zebra. So you'd have to return it back to the shop and repeat the whole process. There you go. Didn't say it was a fun night, but yep, watching VHS movies took the entire night. And if that wasn't entertainment enough, forget to take it back by 6 p.m. the next day and you get charged another day's rental. Happy days. All right, that's my time. I'm off to scroll through my 300 channels and moan how it was easy when there were only 3 or 4. If you laughed, cringed, or had a traumatic flashback of rewinding VHS tapes with a pencil, do me a favor, hit that like button so the algorithm knows we're out there. Subscribe if you want more comedy. It's got to be better than half the stuff Netflix suggests. And drop me a comment. What's your worst pre-Netflix memory? Did you ever have to fight a sibling for the remote? Did Blockbuster ruin your weekend? I want to hear it. Until next time, keep pondering.